Residential tech talk, lighting specialist, residential tech.
Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. On this week's podcast, Kyle Steele joins us from Burbank, California, where he is President of Global Wave Integration. Kyle and I connected recently during CEDIA Expo in Denver, where he and his wife Sarah sat down for lunch with me in our hotel lobby before heading to my buddy John Sciacca's first ever CEDIA pickleball tournament. Although Sarah and I didn't turn out to be the best pairs partners that day, Kyle was by far the best special assistant that John could have asked for, having been sidelined by an injury the weekend before. Anyway, I've been always impressed by Kyle's insights on panels that I've attended, whether at ASEAN Unlimited or CEDIA Expo, as well as his posts and articles about his innovative integration practices. I'm excited to have him on the podcast today to share his latest insights and to talk about how he got into this industry and some of his keys to success so far. Kyle Steele, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. I'm looking forward to it.
You had some scheduling conflicts, things that we were trying to work around to get this recording time figured out. It's let's see, we're September 25th, a Wednesday. Yesterday, you had an all hands company meeting that we couldn't really record on. So I thought, man, that's a tough one. You got to take a whole day to work with your team, work on, getting things right. I'm curious how often you do those and what they entail.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all hands since I just have one arm. You're lucky I wasn't playing in that pickleball tournament, but next year I'm coming for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we follow Traction EOS as our
sure.
operating system. So our all hands is once a quarter. So we do have employees, team members across the country, but we had 15 people in our office. So it's really check your egos at the door, and really the focus is on, what are the issues? And the goal of the meeting is really trying to address those issues. Any business, any company, any team, there's issues. It's working with people. So we really kind of come together as a team to address those issues and solve them within that day. Then typically we do something fun. So we spend the first half of the day kind of going over jobs, clients, the issues, and then typically the afternoon we do something fun. Last time we did some go-karting. We've done axe throwing. Just try to change it up just to keep the team engaged and motivated.
Well, I actually went to one of those first meetings to learn about Traction and EOS and all that. And so I kind of had a sense of what that was like. And it sounded like a great way to run a company, run a business. So congratulations for being on that track, so to speak. And sounds like a good way to do it with the reward at the end, doing something fun. Although it looks like you had too much fun with that injury. So what were you doing that you got that clavicle or collarbone injury?
Yeah, I like to say I'm still trying to think of a better story. So if anyone comes up with one, I'll buy them a beer. But, I wish it was something exciting. Like I was testing our passive fall detection sensors with our company FutureCare, and I threw myself down the stairs. But only half that's true. I just fell down the stairs and just snapped the scapula right in half. And so I'll be in the sling for the next 6 weeks and rehab for a year. So that puts me right in line to start doing overhead slams at the next pickleball tournament. So watch out.
Yeah, you're going to talk a good game here and then see how good you are coming out rusty, next year. For me personally on the pickleball tournament, which congratulations to John for pulling this together.
It was
such a great event. And I mean,
it's fantastic. I mean, even just to watch you guys, I mean, it's so cool that he put that together, and I can see that just growing year after year. So great job.
Well, it's interesting, and not to get too sidetracked on the pickleball thing, but I got to go out and play with John a year ago at CEDIA, and he's just obsessed. He's one of these guys that I think one of his secret powers is his obsession with whatever he's doing. He just gets so into it, and he used to be a golf pro, and he got into home theater, and he had to become a professional at home theater after that. And he briefly was into craft beer, making and craft beers in general. So I think he's he's now falling into a more healthy choice of being a pickleball obsessive. But he and I just played, and I thought we were just going to go out and kind of volley it around. I didn't want to do too much craziness right before CEDIA, and he put me to work out there, like training me up, and we're in altitude and the heat, and I just wasn't prepared.
He's ruthless.
Yeah. And it turns into this tournament, and he's on me all year long. How have you played? You got a group together. And of course I hadn't, and I've got other things I do. I just couldn't get it to work. And so I swear I'm going to get back to it. While it's still fresh, I've got softball, I've got bowling, I got all these old man pursuits, but I do need to honor the pickleball, trend, I guess, because it is fun.
I mean, you're almost 40, so you got to do something active, right?
Almost, yeah. I'm not quite there yet, but I just think that was a great event. It was a great way to connect with people I didn't know in the industry. I think I gave John one note, which was, I think, name tags. Even though you're sweating out there and everything, it still would be great to have reminders.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, try keeping score for all those people. And I felt so just odd. I'm like, I'm so sorry. What's your name again? I'm like it was difficult.
Yeah. And you seem
especially
like
when you're on drugs with this stuff.
Oh yeah. You're on medication. I would imagine you're much better at the name thing than I am. But I was terrible. But then, there were some guys I'm learning about. I chatted with one guy whose daughter is starting at Indiana University, or was starting back then at the same time my daughter was, and he's from Florida, and I got a handwritten note from him later, like, hey, great talking to you, getting to know you. I'm like, this guy is cool. Like, I'm really impressed by that. John got a note from him. Hell, I don't know.
Yeah, it's on my desk here somewhere. I got that note. I was
really?
pretty floored by that.
That's like a pro move, and he connected with a lot of people like that. So it seemed like he was doing them from CEDIA as well. It was postmarked in Colorado, so either that or he travels with a secretary and gets all his correspondence done while he's traveling. But my God, it was really impressive, and I just getting to know other people, seeing friends who I knew in a different context. It was such a great industry event, and I think it's going to grow and become even more popular, I think, in the future years. So, good industry connection to talk about. But I wanted to talk to you more about your company. And, we saw through social media a lot of things that you did at CEDIA to sort of show your expertise. I know you've been sought after because you do a really good job on these panels. You're thoughtful in your answers, the way you describe what you do. And also you're just doing things that are different. You're on the ASEAN board, correct? Still?
Yep.
Yeah. So
ASEAN's had a huge impact on our business, and it's because of ASEAN that I've kind of doubled down, and I just want to be more involved. I think about a year ago, I kind of told myself that, the industry has done so much for me, my team, my family. And if you get an opportunity, if someone asks you to do something, you should just do it. And it's just been so rewarding on that front. So I guess I want to do more of it. So a year ago, I was like, might as well just put myself out there. Like, as a company, we just kind of put our heads down, focus on clients and projects. And then it's kind of surprising when people start taking notice of the work you're doing. Like, even at CEDIA, we won Best Media Room. We didn't expect that. So we took a bunch of guys out there. We had a great time at the award ceremony, but it's kind of nice to acknowledge that everything this community offers and kind of take advantage of it and just be a deeper part of this community. It's been awesome.
Well, one of the things that I saw you did, which I didn't know anything about until after you posted on it, was the mentoring program with the high school students that attended CEDIA Expo. And I wondered how you found out about that and what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. Will Bro from Unlimited in Texas. I was absolutely shocked and honored when he reached out to me saying if I can contribute and take that lunch hour, just talk about our experience in the industry. And it's just incredible that he took so much time in planning. He spent the whole day with the students, and that was the best part of CEDIA for me, just because to see the kids engaged and asking the right questions and how to get in the industry. I think most integrators out there, it's tough to find talent or getting people into the industry. And to see, kids like really wanting to be engaged and find out more, and, going around the floor and meeting with companies like Sonance and Josh AI and just getting into the weeds. Just such a cool thing that Will did. So very grateful for that. It was awesome.
Now, so what can you recall about what this group of kids is about? Like, what's their deal? Like, what is it a future like tech career kind of thing, or is it just in general they're like a group of engaged kids? I'm curious what that group is.
Yeah, my understanding was like a tech charter school that's fairly new in the Denver area, and the school like just opened, but I didn't go to the actual campus. They came to CEDIA.
Sure.
But apparently like the two instructors there, they're like, you have to come by. Like they put a lot of money into it, very tech heavy. And it sounds like these kids are just getting a fantastic experience, programming and things that when I was a student, I wish I had access to, right? Like a mentorship program. And after that day, they reached out and was like, would you mind being a mentor? I'm like, absolutely. Like I met my mentor back in 2008, and that was everything to me. Like everyone should have a mentor. I talked about my mentor to the kids and how much that means to me, because he's like a second father of mine, and he's probably fast tracked me. We've estimated about 10 years in terms of business. I've avoided a lot of pitfalls by having a mentor. So for that school to reach out, asking me to be a mentor, that was incredible, and happy to do so.
Well, I want to hit on some of your other experiences at CEDIA, but while we're talking about your mentor, give us a little more information on that particular person and what they were doing in terms of mentorship. Is it someone in this industry or someone that guided you to this industry?
No, so I can go back at another time, kind of like how I got in this industry, but this was back in 2008. I was working for the second integration company, and at that time, I'd probably been in the industry about 4 or 5 years. When I first moved to California, I was living in the South Bay, and then I met another integration company that they were very focused on alarm systems, and they did some AV. And at the time, I was a Crestron programmer, and I was so impressed by this alarm company. I basically asked if they could use a Crestron programmer, and I'd love to build their business. So I was kind of like the home automation sister company to this alarm company. But yeah, I was working for this alarm company, right? Mm-hmm. And he knew I was very focused on starting my own company. So my mentor, his name's Marty Stark, lives in Northridge. And so every day I'd pick up packages for this alarm company at the PO box, essentially. This was before UPS bought out this chain. And Marty was just, he owned that PO box. And I would come in, and he's like, he's very social. And he's like, so what's your deal? Like, you're working for this alarm company. And I'm like, well, eventually I'm going to start my own company. He's like, oh, you think you can be a business owner? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, come to the back room with me. I'm going to make you sit down, and I'm going to make you feel very stupid. And sure enough, I sat in the back for 4 hours, and we had just amazing conversations and his history in business. He was basically a corporate doctor. Like, he would kind of get hired as a temporary CEO, come in and fix the company, then move on the next one. He's got a law background. He worked for a music label as a president. He sold fighter jets to foreign countries at like $30 million a pop. Everyone knows Silicon Valley. He started Silicon Alley in New York City, put in the first ATM system in New York, built one of the first supercomputers, and the U.S. government bought out that company. It's just a fascinating character. So we've become very close friends. So I officially incorporated back in 2008. But after that initial conversation, and I spent literally about 4 hours with him, and I left there just floored, like, wow, I really don't know what it takes to run and operate a business. So the following week, I went back to that PO box, and Marty wasn't there. He actually sold it to UPS. And on behalf of all like the mom and pop owners, he led a class action lawsuit against UPS just to benefit all the mom and pop owners. And then he essentially retired at that point. His general manager, Johnny, who's now our general manager at Global Wave, and this is since like 2008. Johnny was working for Marty. I was like, "Where'd Marty go?" He's like, "Oh, he's retired." I'm like, "I'd love to keep talking to him." Like, that was just fascinating. So I got Marty's cell phone number, just called him up out of the blue. I'm like, "I'd love to keep the conversation going." So I just started going to his house, and we'd meet in his living room, and we'd talk about life, business, just anything. So I became kind of like a life coach, business mentor. And then 2012, I kind of drove him every day to the hospital when he was for his cancer treatments. And that's where we kind of brainstormed, the idea of FutureCare Solutions Group, and kind of looking at, home automation as a whole and what Global Wave was doing at the time. And it's like, we can do what we're doing with these home systems and give it like a deeper context for meaningful interventions for like home health, aging in place solutions. And so me and him started brainstorming in 2012, and he sits on the board now, and it's just been a fantastic ride working with him.
So he's in good health and everything right now with his cancer?
He's now 83.
Okay.
He won that battle, but being 83, he's definitely going through some issues. So I was just at his house yesterday and kind of working with him and his medical team. And, he is a father figure of mine. So
that's amazing. What a great chance encounter. It almost sounded like he was a ghost there for a second when you were talking about him. He just appears and gives you this, lays down this wisdom, and then he's gone, but I'm glad you were able to reconnect and stay connected. So FutureCare, talk a little bit more about that. And you were in actually a panel at CEDIA that we can connect back to that's part of the story as well. Talking about wellness and, the care of the home, homeowners' well-being, I guess. Give me the words that you use, because I know you're not supposed to get too healthcare-y in some of the technology stuff, but what are you able to do there?
Yeah, that panel, it was called Grandma of the Future, and that was just a fantastic hour. I mean, there's more people than expected, and they're extremely engaged. And then after that panel, it was like the longest line of people afterwards. And all types of organizations. There's a healthcare provider, insurance company, other integrators, and really just focused on the actual solutions. It's put on by CEDIA, and you're not supposed to talk about your actual solutions or sound like a commercial. Mm-hmm. And Walt from CEDIA was like, "No, man, like I think you have a great solution. So just talk about how it applies to aging in place." And kind of just talked about the history, like back in 2012. We did a home in Malibu. I had 600 electronic components in the home. Okay. A very large restaurant system. It was the first time we won Electronic House Home of the Year. And the client was great. She just wanted like kind of all the bells and whistles. And when we're done with the project, I was kind of showing her on the touch panel. Like I thought it was really cool. Like at the time, I programmed like a Yahoo live traffic widget on the touch panel, so she could enter in an address, and in real time she could see like the quickest way to get there. And she's like, "That's cool and all, but I wish this panel would tell me more about my health and well-being." And I was like, "That's very interesting," because I was having these discussions with Marty, and we're going through some stuff, and we're looking into assisted living facilities for them. Going those facilities, it's not a place you want to be typically, or else it's just way too expensive. 9 out of 10 people want to age in place. And as an integrator and with these home automation platforms, it's like, what can we do as an integrator to provide these solutions? So even back then at that time, I was like taking a Microsoft Kinect camera, hacking that, almost as a radar sensor, which wasn't the right technology, but like I'd fall on the floor, and then, it would send an alert to my phone. So I programmed it where on my phone, it would say, "Help, I fall and I can't get up." And so we're really trying to focus on like fall detection, because that's a very big issue. Yeah. That's one of the number one reasons why people go to a senior care facility. And then this was well before Amazon. but I found a far field microphone from Japan. So then I would just fall on the ground. I'd yell at this microphone being like, help, I fall and can't get up. And then I would get alert like on my phone. So I'm like, this is a better solution. And at the time I named it Samantha. And this was before Alexa. But we all know who won that war. And my poor wife, because I was like doing all this out of our living room. She's like, I swear to God, if you say Samantha one more time, I'm going to throw you out of this house. But we're always just reiterating solutions. Like we're building our own hubs. And it's just been a long journey. And then one of our product managers called me, and the day ChatGPT came out, he's like, I just discovered fire. I'm like, you absolutely did. And at that point, we just kind of doubled down on the software and what AI can do. And once we started implementing that into our solutions, 99% of the false positives from fall detection were eliminated. And we're like, wow, we now have a real viable solution. So this is the first year after 12 years or so where we're now deploying this platform in senior care facilities, in homes, working with home care agencies, home health agencies. And so that's just been very inspiring on that front. But to be invited on that panel, and it's just the two of us, it was just the most engaging conversations I've had in a while. And it was just inspiring. Just makes you feel like you're on the right path. And we're just going to do whatever it takes to keep supporting that. And essentially, we provide support services for caregivers.
Okay. That's amazing. And I can see exactly how a panel like that resonates with our CEDIA colleagues, because it is one of those areas that you just know there needs to be a solution for the aging population. So many of the client, I was just going to say, so much of our client base in this industry has been, the ones who are spending the money have been the ones who are getting a little older, and you want to help kind of cater to them as they need different sort of technology in their life,
Yeah, and I think the inspiring part of that week too was I attended the standards committee for CEDIA, and what Daryl is doing for this industry is just awesome. So they actually voted in Denver. They passed a resolution to have a working group on assistive technologies globally.
Great.
So that was voted upon. So just to see that CEDIA has taken this initiative head on, I think is just fantastic.
Yeah, I felt like in the early years when you would hear some of these solutions kind of being talked about, that there were limitations on, the insurance aspects of it, or certain, privacy concerns and things like that. So some of that's getting a little more ironed out, I guess, now for you as you get into this with working with the healthcare facilities.
Yeah, and working with healthcare companies, they're looking at programs like hospital to home programs and lowering hospital readmission rates. And they're seeing from these studies that there's a real impact, and everyone knows the cost, how costly the healthcare system is.
Yeah.
But there's now incentives to start deploying these systems and programs, and and working in other countries where it's already being paid for by the government. But now the U.S. is actively kind of coming around. And that's why we're actively, deploying our solution in other countries right now.
Well, that's great to hear. And being in California, Southern California, you have a lot of unique challenges or opportunities, depending on how you look at it, in terms of the way that, environmental regulations and solar obviously being a part of required as part of a lot of home construction or all of home construction. What are some of those things that from talking to your peers who are not in California that you feel like are unique to what you do as an integrator?
Well, especially for new construction in California, it's now required to have some kind of solar component. We're big believers on power management systems, energy management systems. Even, we bought our building here in Burbank, 2019, and even trying to find a solar company that wasn't too busy was nearly impossible. I mean, it took us probably a year to get our solar system deployed, to the point where we're like, maybe we should just have a solar division or a high voltage division. We just thought it was an endeavor we didn't want to take during the pandemic for sure. But I mean, when it comes to power, that's the first conversation in any project. We ask 3 questions up front. to the design teams, like, what's your light plan? And light plan's not just lighting control, it's also motorized shades and the fixtures. What's your power plan? A lot of people in California is like, oh, we'll just throw a generator on it. Well, generator's dirty power. And if you're putting multiple racks in, it's just going to cause chaos. California is notorious, one, all the fires, but just dirty power, especially LA, Malibu. So people are buying these homes, tearing them down, building a bigger house. So it's really just amplifying the dirty power in the grid, where we kind of lead with solutions like Rosewater. You definitely want clean and stable power coming into your racks, and people still just aren't aware just how detrimental dirty power is to systems. 90% of our service calls are just remote reboots. Well, if you had clean and stable power going into your racks, you wouldn't even have those issues. So as part of that education of what you can do with solar and battery backup, and Rosewater has been a great partner.
Yeah, and part of that, as I understand it from Rosewater and the battery systems, is scheduling as well, and that software programming in terms of how you plan for when you need the solar, when you need to store it. All that scheduling is not an easy thing. I can't imagine homeowners who don't have the battery backup aspect to their solar, what they're even getting out of their systems.
Yeah, you mentioned other markets. I have a good friend, Paul Ostrin in Texas, and we had this conversation about, the importance of stable power. And he's like, but you guys are in California. That's such a California thing. And then at CEDIA, I ran into him. He's like, wow, we started selling Rosewater and there's actually a demand for it. I'm like, yeah, this is systemic across the US. It's just not a California issue. And if you're putting in a large automation system, it's an absolute necessary evil.
Well, and the other thing I thought about for you and your market is you're obviously close to Hollywood. Are you still doing the dedicated theaters and having more of that entertainment level of installation? Because I know that's become sort of a thing where, not everyone does it across the country, a lot of multi-purpose spaces. And I know you try to, I've seen your video where you're talking about hiding technology, which is going to be popular with any market and any designers, obviously architects. But are you still doing a fair share of dedicated theaters as well?
Yeah, it's kind of morphed into more mixed use spaces.
Okay.
I think dedicated cinema definitely coming back, but now that video walls are definitely the thing. In our showroom, it's a rear projection. We wanted to hide the technology, like you mentioned, but we're looking into getting direct view LED, and the media room we just won the award for at CEDIA is the first ever DCI compliant video wall.
Ooh, nice.
And that was actually for. He's a CEO of one of the major studios here in LA, and he single-handedly quarterbacked the whole process to ensure that the video wall will be DCI compliant. So from that, and content being king here in LA, especially Burbank, we bought our building in 2019, and now we're surrounded by Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and that is the trend. They're all looking at video walls like that. Okay. Historically, it was just, projection and DCI, but now it's just kind of getting out, solutions like Barco and Quantum. It's really starting to take off. So that demand is really coming back for cinema, but it's more of a mixed use and video wall solutions.
And so what video wall did you end up using in that project?
We used Quantum.
You did Quantum. Okay. Yeah. And obviously the pinnacle of that technology at CEDIA, I felt like their demos just can't be beat. And of course, for a price, it's not cheap, and you're in that market, so you can do that. not every market is capable of that, I guess.
Yeah, they just built out an amazing showroom at the legendary Red Studios that I think Brad Pitt's a part owner. So we're now taking clients there. And and I think Barco's soon to follow to be DCI compliant. And it's very niche, I guess. Yes, being in LA, I think we have more of those demands. But I think we're going to see a trend where, at least when it comes to dedicated cinema, it will be video walls with, a really cool Atmos kind of configuration on the audio side.
Yeah, I know that audio was one of the complaints from folks when the video walls first started happening, and there have been solutions that have come around where you're literally, surrounding the screen, so you're not able to do the transparency of you would do with the two-piece projection, but you're able to get that to work, right? So what can you explain some of how you've kind of worked around the solution of having audio that seems like it's coming from the screen? Obviously, if it's in a multi-purpose room, maybe that's not your goal, but you still want it to seem like things are syncing up with a movie if you're watching that or TV.
Yeah, this definitely was a struggle for our showroom, right? Because we don't have a video wall, but it's just a large piece of glass with a barcode projector behind it. So you still can't put your LCRs behind the glass.
Yeah.
And we were going to put in a Meyer sound system, but then TPI Audio, they reached out. They heard about us building a showroom in Burbank, and they really wanted to be in the heart of Burbank. So we worked with them, and they can custom build anything. They're just a fantastic company to work with. So we became their first integrator in the US, the first showroom. And we kind of learned together, how to put this together. And eventually they came out with the movement system. But, historically working with Meyer Sound, they're a commercial company. Like, it's a large box and it's very limited what you can do. And we don't have a big showroom space. But Giles and TPI, they're like, we'll build you guys whatever you need. And it just sounds incredible. And then we even did a private G650 jet. And I'm like, we have no business doing a jet. And I go to Giles at TPI. I'm like, we can't do jets, right? He's like, whatever, let's just build custom solution. So they did a one-off audio system with subs everywhere and a jet, and it just sounded incredible. And from that point on, I was like, TPI is just such a fantastic company to work with. And it's just incredible sound. We did an A/B with a TPI, I have them on my desk here, with Meyer Sound on Mies, and it kind of blew me out of the water. So
they do processing, and then they work with Meyer Sound for the speakers. Is that what you're saying, or?
No, they're turnkey TPI. So amplification, speakers.
Okay.
And not digital crossovers. So you still get that warm audio sound. They're just fantastic speakers.
Yeah, and I heard mention of TPI when I was watching your video about your space there, your theater demo, and I was like, wait a second, I don't know if I know these guys, which is weird for me to not know a brand name like that would be among all the other big names that you're working with. And so I saw that they're part of the Apex Technologies distribution group there. So Ryan Donaher and Jimmy Paschke, for those who don't know what we're talking about, our old buddies. So that's a great discovery there in the UK. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it was because of those guys. Those guys are like brothers to me. Love those guys. And Ryan was the one who reached out because we had some of his solutions in our showroom. He's like, you got to hear TPI. Okay. And so he sent me out a pair he had, and that's when we did the A/B test. I'm like, oh, this is going to take off. And sure enough, within a couple of years, they kind of exploded in the U.S.
Okay. Well, that's great to hear about. And I love that video. By the way, your model was great. I hope you're paying her well there in the video, your wife.
I thought you were talking about the child labor.
No, that we weren't going to mention, but I assume that was a colleague's child, right? Because I was trying to figure out whose kid is this. Because
that's Johnny, my main man. Yeah, his beautiful daughter. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, so that room, you really are playing up the multi-purpose kind of approach there, making it like a exercise space. Obviously looks beautiful no matter what's going on there. It doesn't have to be, a screening room or anything like that. So, and you're hiding the technology. You're using Josh to really make that control happen. So maybe just talk about that project and how it kind of is emblematic of what you want to provide your clients.
Yeah, it's been a journey. Like I mentioned, it's 2019. This was right before the pandemic, and we already knew we really wanted to focus on wellness and have a wellness showroom. And with the interior designers we work with, it's all about hiding the technology. And finding the right partners. And Josh Alex was so hands-on with the project. We had the first nanos ever installed in our walls. Working with Ryan, we just had such an awesome team on the design side of things. But really, we just want to focus on the experience. It's not about the technology or brands. We just wanted people to come in and just, I think someone mentioned we had a wellness consultant come in. She's like, wow, as soon as she walked in, she's like, it feels like a warm hug. I was like, that's kind of what we want, right? It's not like talking about what type of speakers, but we had like immersive audio scenes playing that we create. So it makes us a little unique. We can tailor the experience depending who's coming in. But the whole building, when we talk about energy automation and wellness, it's a living lab. So we're in the process still getting the entire building wellness certified platinum. So it's like everything we talk about, we want to showcase the offerings and at least have that discussion. So working with our vendors like Josh, and then the pandemic hit, and it's kind of like, well, you now have a touchless interface where you don't need to touch the remote. And the best interface is something you can use with your eyes closed. And so we have the two companies, Global Wave and FutureCare. If you marry those two companies, kind of like if you thread that needle, it's really wellness technologies and well tech and what it means to have a healthy home. So you have a good experience because it's clean air, clean water, clean power. And then you have those discussions. And that when we bring in architects, designers, you quickly get on the design team and you're not just pigeonholed as an installer and working with the contractor as a subcontractor. We want to be early on in those discussions of like, what is a healthy home? And a lot of people don't understand what that means. So to be part of that conversation initially, now you get in projects earlier and you're a valuable resource where it's like now you're the experienced designer for the entire project. So we're just trying to kind of change the conversation a little bit.
I noticed that as part of that, your lighting, obviously, you mentioned lighting fixtures is a big part of your company. So Ketra plays a part in that particular installation.
Yes. We're big fans of Ketra. We doubled down pretty hard in the building. It's kind of funny. We kind of put it in every room. And then most of my integrator friends are like, yeah, we have a Ketra showroom and we just have like 4 bulbs. I'm like, oh, geez. It kind of went nuts. But it definitely helps in the conversation of like, what is, circadian lighting and circadian code in general and what that means for our health and well-being. It's like we are living longer, but we are not living healthier. And that's mostly because of the built environment.
Yeah. Are you also, you're talking about air quality. Are you working with any companies in that area? Because that's something I'm not as familiar with and how integrators kind of bring that part of the equation together.
Yeah, that was one of the panels at CEDIA that Michael Hamm asked me to be on. I idolize Michael Hamm, everything he's done for the industry. Re-Pure, just a great solution. And I just admire the guy. I mean, he's traveling the world right now, just doing the most incredible projects and working with the best architects and designers. He's really spreading the word of what indoor air quality means and how that impacts our health in so many different ways. We want to really focus on that and what that means in our showroom as well.
Yeah, I had Michael on the podcast a while back. I'm glad you mentioned him and all his work that he's doing there. That's great that you're connecting.
And he has the world's best tea. He has a couple awards for it. His tea is
That's
fantastic.
Right. I forgot all about that. That was part of my research. That was so interesting to find out about. Yeah, I need to reconnect with him. It's been a while. You talk to so many people, and then if you're not directly connecting with them on jobs like you may be doing, it's you start to bury that information. And I'm gonna have to bring him back in and see what's going on there. So that's great to hear. Are you in the lighting side of it? Because obviously that's still such a big part of what we're talking about in terms of industry trends and changes that are going on. Being in California, I would imagine you might have more opportunity to work with lighting designers as well. Is that the case? Because a lot of markets don't necessarily have lighting designing as a career path that are connected to integrators. So they're either trying to design themselves or outsourcing it. So, a light can help you kind of operation. So are you working with lighting designers quite a bit?
Yes, and we've been in conversations. It's my ultimate dream and goal to buy out a lighting design firm and truly keep that in-house. We kind of say we're in-house lighting design because there's a lighting designer in Santa Monica. He's been doing this for decades, and he's really, really good. and we keep running into each other. Like we did that project in Florida and he's on the project. We did a project in Aspen and he just happens to be on the project. So it's like, we're always on the same projects. Like there's gotta be a way we can just work together because we're so big on lighting. It's that emotional response of lighting that you don't get from some of the other solutions we do. And even as a restaurant programmer back in the day, like that was my favorite thing to do, was like create lighting scenes and timing based on, not to get esoteric, of like the golden ratio and just having that natural aesthetic. Like, why do I find this beautiful? So I always loved it. So just working with lighting designers and bringing them in, and we're trying to get better at, we're good at motorized shades, lighting control systems, but internally we're behind a little bit on lighting fixtures and getting educated on that. Because as I mentioned, that's one of the first questions we ask on these projects, like, what's your light plan?
Yeah.
And then it kind of, we're like, well, you guys figure it out. Like you guys do the RCP and ceiling plans and let's talk about it. And then working with electricians, like we don't want to step on their toes, but yeah, if you're selling Ketra, I mean, if you work with them on the sale, they're still making more margin than they would if they weren't doing Ketra. And now it's the benefit of the client having a healthy solution in their home.
So when you were at CEDIA, did you see anything that was sort of a surprise to you, or anything that you were just looking forward to seeing in person that you hadn't yet while you're on the show floor?
I wish I saw more, but that's one of the reasons we took probably the largest team we've ever attended CEDIA, and just hearing what they had. But I did go by like the Crestron booth. I was very impressed with the new home platform and what they rolled out. I mean, especially when we talk about lighting, and now that integration with Ketra, I thought was amazing. I mean, Josh AI, obviously we're big fans, and all their announcements, the new AIOS, I thought was incredible, and their security camera integration was really cool. But I wish I had more time. Like I was just saying with the panels and meetings, I wanted to get on the floor just to see it on the wellness side of things. Like I guess my focus as an integrator now, like we even built our own app called like the Wave of Wellness. So we really focus on light, sound, and temperature, and just focus on those three areas. Just immersive audio solutions are just so emotive and cool, and especially when we have in-house sound designers. I think we're just looking for solutions that truly is like a turnkey immersive experience, like in terms of audio, video, and just environment. So I haven't seen anything new on that front. But I think just excitement being on the show, it's just great to see everyone, and it sounded like it was just a fantastic show for everybody.
Yeah, it really was. I thought same thing. Wish I had more time. There's so much to cover, and I wasn't even on all the panels that you were. So those have been like time killers for me as well, even though they've been very rewarding. But great show, lots to see there, and appreciate your insights, Kyle. I know you've got a lot going on there, and I do encourage people to check out the video of your demo space there in your facility at your website, because it's really kind of encapsulates everything you're doing there. And I'm excited to kind of follow your aging in place plans and things like that for the home health technology. That sounds really exciting for our industry to be able to contribute to that as well for folks. So thanks so much for your time today, Kyle. Really great talking to you.
And thank you, and start practicing, because I'm going to start training for next year. So
yeah, I see you coming. I'll be ready. I hope. If nothing else, Sarah and I will definitely have to be better partners when we do the rotation of partners on the doubles, because it didn't connect. We were. I think we got smoked in our game together. So it was great getting to know her as well.
She said hello, by the way. She wanted to say hi. So.
Yeah, send it back to her. I appreciate it, and tell her she did a great job in the video. So thank you so much for your time, Kyle. Great talking to you.
Thank you. See you soon.
Okay. Kyle Steele is president of Global Wave Integration in Burbank, California. You can learn more about his company and look at that video that I was describing at globalwaveintegration.com. And that wraps up today's show, which was produced by Residential Tech Today, IPW, and Pretty Easy Podcasts. If you're new to Residential Tech Talks, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you watched or listened to this episode. And also check out all the latest residential tech news at our magazine's website, restechtoday.com, where you can also subscribe to the print or digital magazine and to our Tuesday and Thursday email newsletters. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential tech jobs, autonomous lighting specialist, residential tech.
Home automation, smart device, home or smart house.